A threat against the creators of South Park, a warning by a radical Islamic group right here in America, right here in New York, that they will end up dead because of a cartoon. Now, we're going to show you the cartoon in a moment that has so enraged these radical Islamists. But before we do, just think about this for a moment. We live in a country which prides itself on its freedom of speech, in which we can say whatever is in our hearts and our minds, as long as it's not threatening to someone else, as long as it's not calling for violence against somebody else. Now, you might not like South Park, the cartoon. You might think it's offensive. You might decide it's not something you want to watch. That's up to you. But the notion that some radical Islamic group in America would make a threat, even a veiled one, against two men's lives because of it is chilling. And for the people making this threat, that is precisely the point, to chill discussion, to chill debate. By the way, these radicals say it's not a threat, just a warning. You can be the judge of that. For Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the two guys behind South Park, it is, or could be, a matter of life and death. And because in a cartoon in which they made fun of a number of religious deities and figures, they also portrayed the Prophet Muhammad, censored in doing that by their own network. They portrayed him as being inside a bear costume.
You've done this town a huge favor, Muhammad.
Hold on a second! Stop! There are some extremists threatening that if we give Muhammad to the celebrities, they're gonna bomb us.
What?
Oh, it's just a stupid threat. Come on, we don't want to piss off Tom Cruise again.
All right, we got him, Tom.
Muhammad, are you okay?
So that's what this group is objecting to, a bear suit. Now, I want to bring you over the wall here and just show you what they put on their website talking about Parker and Stone because of this bear suit right over here. This is the website, revolutionmuslim.com. And on the note, it says, and you can decide if it's a threat or not, reads, "We have to warn Matt and Trey what they are doing is stupid, and they will probably end up like Theo Van Gogh for airing this show. This is not a threat," the posting goes on to say, "but a warning of what will likely happen to them." The website Revolution Muslim also had information about where the South Park creators live and work, and a sermon by a wanted cleric in Yemen that outlines the punishment under Islam for blasphemy. Theo Van Gogh, you'll remember, is the Dutch filmmaker murdered in 2004 after making a movie critical of Islam. He was shot on the street, his throat cut, a knife plunged into his chest. His killer wrote a note also threatening Western governments, Jews, and the writer of his film, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She went into hiding, has had protection ever since. She moved to the U.S. We're going to talk to her tonight. But Theo Van Gogh is not the only example of this kind of threat and danger. A year later, an attempt to trigger a debate on free speech, the editors of a Danish newspaper published cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad. It sparked worldwide protests in which dozens were killed. Cartoonists had to go into hiding. And of course, there's author Salman Rushdie in his book, The Satanic Verses, which caused so much controversy. It earned him a fatwa, a religious decree from Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei, calling for his death. That was 21 years ago. And now, on the streets of New York and online, there is this radical Islamic group, and they are focusing on the creators of South Park. Drew Griffin tonight is keeping them honest.
Revolution Muslim says despite their provocative posting, complete with a photo of a murder victim, the group says it's only issuing a call to protest, not violence. Contacted by CNN, the creator of the posting said Revolution Muslim only wants those offended to be able to voice their opposition by letters to the show's creators.
Certainly the comment on this website is very ugly, but it is certainly not specific enough to get anyone arrested at this point.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
Good. Last year, CNN interviewed one of the founders of this radical Muslim group on the streets of New York. Yunus Muhammad chose his words carefully, telling us he saw nothing wrong with Americans dying in the 9/11 terrorist attack.
I don't think it was wrong. I think it was justified.
And then adding he does not encourage any violence on U.S. soil. It's a word game, federal officials tell us, that allows Revolution Muslim to post support of terrorists like the alleged Fort Hood, Texas shooter, while the website itself is protected under free speech laws of the United States. Yunus Muhammad told us he doesn't see anything wrong with his messages. He dislikes the United States. He yearns for a Muslim world.
We're commanded to terrorize the disbelievers. And this is a religion, like I said.
You're commanded to terrorize the disbelievers?
The Quran says very clearly in the Arabic language, Torhibuna. This means terrorize them. It's a command from Allah.
So you're commanded
to terrorize them.
Terrorize
doesn't mean
anybody who doesn't
believe. You define terrorism as going and killing an innocent civilian. That's what I define terrorism as making them fearful so that they think twice before they go rape your mother or kill your brother or go onto your land and try to steal your resources.
The clip on the site ends with a warning on a graphic directed at Parker and Stone that the dust will never settle down. Drew Griffin, CNN, Atlanta.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who has had to live with protection ever since. Thanks very much for joining us, Ayaan. This radical group says that this is not a threat against the people behind South Park, but a warning about what will probably happen to them. They also, on their website, provide information about where these two lived, a link to a sermon by a wanted cleric about the punishment for blasphemy. Do you think this is a threat?
This is clearly a threat. The fact that they have looked for their addresses, found them, put them up, you know, on the air for any radical jihadist to go and, you know, claim martyrdom, that is all part of a threat. And that's exactly the process before Theo van Gogh was killed. After we made the film, there were lots of radical groups sharing his movements, his address, his pictures, and lots of threats coming in to my email and also to him. And
so when people say, well, look, this is just some obscure website, you know, a bunch of street corner preachers in New York, they don't really amount to much, you say that doesn't matter.
Well, the killer of Theo van Gogh, Mohammed was considered a marginal figure, and his name did not even emerge until after Theo was killed. And after Theo's death, we realized, in fact, the Secret Service announced that he was the leader of the Hofstadt group, the group that they now put a lot of attention, and most of them are in jail right now. But that was, it started out with, it's a small group, insignificant, radical, marginal, so on and so forth. But they were not marginal. It's their group leader who followed, surveilled Theo as he went from his house to his work on a daily basis until he found a moment that he could attack.
The chilling effect something like this has, I mean, I think cannot be overestimated. We've already seen the Met Museum in New York reportedly is not going to show any portrayals of Muhammad in their Islamic art exhibition. And I want to show you some stills from South Park where I guess the network didn't even allow them to show Muhammad or a portrayal, a cartoon version, so they had him disguised in a bear suit. I mean, why does it outrage this group so much to have any portrayal, or even in a bear costume?
Well, because I grew up as a Muslim, and growing up as a Muslim, I learned you don't criticize Allah, the Quran, or the Prophet Muhammad, and you should, you know, participate in condemning and eventually killing anybody who does. So that is just what the religion tells us. That's what Scripture tells us. There are some people who want to act on it, and there are some people who don't. The majority of Muslims do not want to act on the Scripture, but they are silent when fellow Muslims do.
But I mean, like in South Park, I mean, this cartoon, you know, whether you like South Park or not, I mean, they show Buddha snorting cocaine. You don't see death threats or warnings from Buddhists.
And you don't see death threats from Jews when Moses is depicted in an unbecoming position, and you don't see threats from Christians when Jesus Christ is made, you know, is put in a satire position. So it is only, and this is the strong thing, the South Park episode of last weekend was not just funny, and it wasn't just witty, it was also, it addressed an essential piece in the times that we are living. There is one group of people, one religion that is claiming to be above criticism. And I hope that in the aftermath of this, that we discuss that. When Theo van Gogh and I made submission, we wanted to address the position of women in Islam and what the Quran said about Islam, or what the Quran said about women. Instead, we ended up in a discussion about, you know, are Muslims more vulnerable or not? Shall we talk about protection? Can they be offended or not? It became a side discussion, and I hope that now we can, in the United States of America, say the freedom of expression, the First Amendment, that is the first fundament and the most fundamental basis of our society.
I want to play a video of something they said about doing this episode, about the 200th episode.
Are you afraid that if the network allows you to unveil the Prophet Muhammad, that you will be bombed?
We'd be so hypocritical against our own our own thoughts if we said, okay, well, let's not make fun of them because they might hurt us. Like, that's messed up to have that kind of thought process, you know. Okay, well, we'll rip on the Catholics because they won't hurt us, but we won't rip on them because they might hurt us.
And so your message tonight, the importance of this is what?
It is an assault on the freedom of expression. And we have to defend it tooth and nail. That means we all stand by Mr. Stone and Mr. Parker.
Do you still live with guards? I mean, do you still have protection all around you?
I have protection, but there comes a time when, if not just Mr. Parker and Mr. Stone, but if the entertainment business were to take this on and just show how ridiculous this is, that there'll be too many people to threaten. And then I think at that time I won't need protection, and the gentleman who made South Park will also not need protection. But it is something, as a community and as a society, we have to take them on. And that means, I think, scrutinizing Islam, criticizing it in the same way that we criticize Christianity, Judaism, and other ideologies and other religions.